A measure of him comes into eternity and he overwhelms eternity, so much so that you don't know the difference between night and day, and you don't know when time elapses anymore. So Lucifer saw it and desired it so much and said, "Look, I can be like this being." What he didn't know is maybe it's 0.1% of God that both eternity and earth have experienced his creation. And then he said that we be like what? What is he? It's not who is he, it's what is he. All your reality is captured in eternity, and then you want to talk and be like the one that is bigger than eternity. You are existing his existence, and you now say you want to be like him. So the question is, how will you start? And when he looked at him, he said, "Kai, iniquity has entered your heart, because you don't know the one you are dealing with. That your thought of it alone is a transgression, is a violation against the laws that govern the realm. Because when you violate him, before they fight you, the laws itself will begin to fight you. You know, when man fell, before man noticed that he fell, the laws began to fight him. So he hid himself for safety. He took safety. God decided to bring us into the equation. And when he brought us into the equation, man also told a part of folly. And he rebelled against God. And when he rebelled against God, the same experience that Lucifer had began to happen to him. And when God showed up, he ran away. Because what gave him capacity to stand before God was something himself did not know. He didn't know how he was able to interact with God. Because when God came into the garden, he wasn't hearing God. What he was actually doing with God was intercourse. Because after he ran and hid, he was still hearing God. Adam, where art thou? He could still hear God. So what happened between him and God in the cool of the day was actually mingling. God was bringing him into the experience of righteousness, because he was created innocent. And it's in righteousness that he will have stature. And when he has stature, what he will now do is to extend Eden to every part of the earth. Because the whole earth had fallen. The whole earth was under the bondage of corruption. So what God did was to download Eden from heaven. And as he was in the envelope of Eden, he will mingle with God until he understands righteousness. Because he was created innocent. And as innocent, he is still going to be a slave if he steps out of Eden. So God decided to put him in that canopy, and in the cool of the day, God came and had intercourse with him so that he will grow into righteousness. When he does, he will now gain stature, and he can now take Eden to every other part of the earth, and earth will become a mirror image of heaven. But before that time came, he decided to have intercourse with another spirit apart from God, and he punctured Eden, and the devil entered into the systems of this world. And the moment the devil entered, the devil now created systems that rebelled against him. So the animals rebelled against him. Weather rebelled against him. Everything that was factored in the visible universe, the things happening in the earth that he didn't know about in Eden, now joined him in Eden. Death came there, attacks, and all kinds of things came. So before the man can now experience Eden again, God must reveal different dimensions of his reality, because God is the only person outside of the equation. You know that God can function under the law when it comes into the system, but God can also function outside the law because he is sovereign. So what God does now to give the man advantage is to fetch from his sovereignty and download it into the system where the man is. So you call it intervention. And that was the first thing that happened in that scripture. The first thing that happened in that scripture is called intervention and the hand of God. So every time the man becomes vulnerable to the system that have been set up, then God fetches from sovereignty and he brings it to the man. And then by that thing that God brings, the man rules. So Abraham was walking in peril. Abraham was troubled. Abraham was handicapped. And God went back into himself, because before the project began, Elohim sat with himself, and the Father spoke to the Logos, and the Logos spoke to the Spirit, and the Spirit spoke to the Father. It was an endless communion, a koinonia took place, and he said, let us make man. So every time the system is about to break, God fetches from within himself. Now the man that God fetched out of koinonia had fallen. The only way God can make the man stand is to fetch his dimension and give to the man. So when Abraham was struggling, he was from Mesopotamia in the halls of the Chaldees, and that was a place that was darkened, because Abraham's grandfather is called Nahor, and Nahor was one of the princes of Nimrod. And the idea of Babel is to create a system that can exist apart from God. So it was a journey of rebellion, and God wanted to help again. So the first thing he did was he pulled him out of his country, pulled him out of his kindred, put him out of his family. Where God brought Abraham, Abraham became helpless, because his strength was in his connection to his country, to his kindred, and to his family. The moment he made Abraham helpless, he now told Abraham, this system can't help you. The only way you can be helped is the way you came about. Because when you came, what I did was that I traveled again into the bellies of Elohim. That was where I brought you out from. And now that you are in trouble, the only thing I can do now is not to trust in Nimrod. It's not to trust in the land of Shinar. It's not to trust in the house of the Chaldees. It's to come back to me. So God fetched another dimension, and he called it El Shaddai. Because what El Shaddai means, the man doesn't have a country, the man doesn't have a kindred, the man doesn't have a family. You don't know what it means, because now if you are no longer a citizen of Nigeria, who are you? You are helpless and vulnerable. So God was showing him, your confidence on the system is already corruption. It's called judgment. So what we actually fear is not the devil, it's God we fear. Because when you depart from God, you are helpless. So God was telling Abraham, Babel will fail, Nimrod will fail, and every system of the world will fail, but in me there is something. That was what he told Moses. He said, show me thy glory. And he said, there is a place by my side. I will put you by the cleft of the rock, and I will cause all my goodness to pass before you. When I pass, it's enough. And God took of El Shaddai, and when he gave El Shaddai to Abraham, suddenly him that was barren, him that was impotent, and her that was barren received something. And he said, and Sarah received strength that she should bring forth. This is no longer according to the law of fertility. This is no longer according to the law of reproduction. This one now is strength, because it came from the bellies of El Shaddai. So at that time, even if you don't have a womb, you can give birth. He said to Mary, Luke 1:35, he said, the Spirit of the Lord shall come upon you. The power of the highest shall overshadow you. What is it telling him? You don't necessarily need to have intercourse to be pregnant. You need intercourse when you function by the law of reproduction. But when you function by the law of El Shaddai, intercourse is not necessary. It's called Ebenezer. I don't have an uncle. My father is dead. Everybody around me want to kill me. There is a dimension in Ebenezer. It's called El Shaddai. That's why the righteous is as bold as a lion. That was the first thing that Samuel was invoking, because Samuel knows the one before whom he has to do. So it doesn't matter. He checked Israel's army, he checked the Philistines. There were no match. There were no match. So the only thing to do is to travel back to the one that is outside of the cosmos. Is to travel back to the one that is sovereign, that existed apart from the Lord. And when he mounted that altar, he said, the hand of God. Something was introduced into the equation. Higher. I told them something. Some of us, they told us that your father, people who succeed in ministry, sometimes they are from 5 generations of ministers. So they have a heritage. Their great-grandfather have labored. Their grandfather have labored. Their father has labored. So they are working in the inheritance. And when I checked, my grandfather was a dark prince. In my house, in the village, They used to come there for oblations. They kill tortoise and eat. And there were altars there. And when I checked my father, he had never spoken in tongues. The only person praying in my house was my mother. And so I knew that the only way to succeed, I don't argue with the heritage thing because it's real, but I also know something outside of the equation. It's called Ebenezer. And so I went to the Lord and I knelt before him because I heard the story of James the Just. His knee was like camel's knee, because when you press on the altar, the way Samuel mounted this stone, you can journey out of time and enter into the bellies of eternity. And when you stand before him, it no longer matters. You can be handicapped, you can be helpless, but you have met Ebenezer. So Moses said, I cannot speak. He said, who created the mouth? You don't need a mouth to speak. Ebenezer.